NBC News defends "We're coming for your children" chant at NYC Drag March, arguing it's been used for years at Pride events. You may have seen the clip. One of our reporters, Elad Eliyahu, was on the ground in New York City, and he filmed Pride marchers chanting, "We're coming for your children." And they tried to brush it off. They tried to claim it was nonsense, but the video is going viral, even being picked up by the corporate press. Local affiliates are running the story. Why? It's simple. This is what I refer to as the Bud Light effect. This is ancillary, but somewhat related. When people start to find out what is actually happening at these events, they don't like it. And so what happens with Bud Light is they sponsor Dylan Mulvaney. They do this, whatever the video was, for whatever reason. Dylan Mulvaney does this promo for Bud Light. And then all of a sudden, people stop buying the product. It's now in its worst week of sales ever in the boycott. And reportedly, they have fired the marketing executives involved. Regular people are starting to outright say no. But the reason I say this is the Bud Light effect is because what's happening, people are seeing that if you cover this stuff, people want to know about it. You get clicks, you make money. So let's start from the beginning. Our reporter goes on the ground and is just filming what's going on. This video, from the perspective of Timcast News, unremarkable. We know they say things like this, but the video went viral. Conservatives started sharing it. Regular people started sharing it. And then what happened? This is what I say is a part of the Bud Light effect. Corporate media outlets said, if we run this story, we will get 1 million views. Then we will sell more ads. We will make more money. You see how it works? When people are interested in a story, the story makes money. It's that simple. News outlets, individuals, content creators, they will start producing more content discussing this issue because they know people are interested in it. It's really that simple. The fact that this is now reaching the mainstream corporate press shows they can't run from it. Regular people are saying, I want to know more about this. Why are they doing this? So here we are. NBC News, knowing this story has gone beyond mainstream, desperate to in some way challenge the narrative. And here they go. Let me show you this article, ladies and gentlemen. "We're coming for your children" chant at NYC Drag March elicits outrage, but activists say it's taken out of context. Organizers say the NYC Drag March is meant to be a lighthearted and poke fun at anti-LGBTQ sentiment. The only issue? They actually are coming for your children. There's videos of adult men spreading themselves in front of children and thrusting their genitals at these kids. Yeah, that's actually happening. Ian Crossland of Timcast IRL purchased a book called This Book is Gay. In the book, it provides instruction on how to use adult, and even it acknowledges the apps are for adults, adult sex apps, despite the fact that Amazon says the book is for teenagers. Why would minors need that kind of instruction? It also has graphic depictions of sex. And this book was being provided to middle schoolers in some instances, to the point where parents called the police on this teacher. So yeah, they're coming for your children. And now they're chanting it in the streets. This is why people care. NBC News is desperate to try and contain the narrative. Here's the tweet. NBC News writes, the quote, "coming for your children" chant has been used for years at Pride events, according to longtime march attendees and gay rights activists, who said it's one of the many provocative expressions used to regain control of slurs against LGBTQ people. Is it? Then why are we seeing sanctuary states for child sex changes? And this is the funny thing, right? We have had this debate over the phrase child sex change, but this is what they're doing. Maryland recently announced this month an executive order will make the state a sanctuary for child sex changes. Washington and other states have done the same. In fact, in some of these states, if an individual kidnaps your child, brings them to a doctor, I'm talking 13 years old, and then sterilizes them, that is protected in these states. In fact, they would not prosecute the individual who did the kidnapping. They will not answer any subpoenas, any warrants. They'll protect the gender affirming care that sterilizes your child. And we'll talk all about that in a second. But first, let me show you the article from NBC News so you can understand the desperate attempt to try and contain the narrative. NBC News' Tyler Kincaid writes, over the weekend, a short video circulated widely on social media of an unidentified person at a New York City march during Pride festivities saying, "We're coming for your children." Lie. It was a group of people. There's a video of it. You can watch it. This is narrative control. They're panicking. In the 21-second clip circulated by a right-wing web streamer channel, dozens of people marched in the streets and are clearly heard chanting, "We're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping." But one voice that is loud in the crowd, it's not clear whose or whether the speaker was a member of the LGBTQ community, is heard saying at least twice, "We're coming for your children." In fact, you can clearly tell it's multiple people, and you can see their mouths moving, saying that they're coming for your children. But hold on there a minute. NBC News. You can't have it both ways. How are you saying it's just one person and we don't even know who that person is? Also, it's a long-standing chant and they all say it all the time. Which is it? Seriously, if activists are telling you outright, and you published this, that the chant has been used for years at Pride events, why then downplay it and try and claim it's just but one person who is saying it? This is the lie. It's the game they play. And the funny thing is, it's just oh so obvious. Here's the video. Drag marchers chant, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children." I'm going to, I have to blur it because there is, I wouldn't call it nudity. Like, it's a woman with pasties. So I'll just do a light blur, but I don't think it's appropriate just to play out right. But let me play for you the audio. You can clearly tell that it was said more than once and by more than one person. The first thing you hear, it does sound like one loud person saying it. There's one loud voice that sounds male, followed by the entire group chanting it. That's just it. It's very obvious they are chanting it. So let me just stress this point. You cannot claim that it was just one person in the crowd. We don't even know who they are, but then also claim actually activists admit they do chant this. To conservative pundits, activists, and lawmakers, the video confirmed the allegations they've levied in recent years. The LGBTQ community is grooming children. We don't need that to confirm it. We have the books. We have books like this. This book is gay. This book on Amazon is listed as being for 14 to 17-year-olds. In it, you actually have at one part of the book, I don't even want to say this. Let me just say they provide context and understanding around consuming feces in the book. Why would a 14 to 17-year-old need to do that? I have to tell you, anyone who argues that the consumption of feces is about gay sex, it's a normal, it's not correct. I believe it's actually considered a mental disorder to consume human feces, as it can kill you. You can die from this. But hey, talk to a doctor about that stuff. It's in the book. To be fair, the book's not telling anyone to do it, as far as I understand. It's just describing the practice, helping you understand it. Why? That can kill. Okay, whatever. Why was this book given to middle schoolers? Because the teacher in question was grooming these kids. Why is the book providing instruction to minors? Amazon says the book is for 14 to 17-year-olds. The book explicitly says these adult anonymous sex apps are for 18 up only. Here's how you use them. Why does the book think it appropriate, the writer of the book think it appropriate, to provide instruction to minors on how to use adult sex apps? It's overt grooming. Okay. There's no context, none, where that is not grooming. An adult going to a child and saying, here's how you can secretly meet adults for, you know what I'm talking like that is grooming. Anybody who defends that is an advocate for grooming and pedophilia. And boy, are they mad about it, because they're all defending it. We have a leftist liberal on the show, And she outright says, I'm against censorship. So, I think it's a good book. Really? There's no defending it. The book tells minors to do it. It explains it is for adults only and is listed online as 14 to 17 years old. There's no question. So when they're marching in the streets saying they're coming for your children, probably. Here's a story from Standing for Freedom. I'm not familiar with this website, but it's immaterial. Gay men's choir performs song with the lyrics, "We're coming for your children." The San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus posted a YouTube video where the choir sings, "We're coming for your children." They say things in this song that are I would say egregiously offensive. Now look, in the song from several years ago, they say, "We'll convert your children, we'll make them tolerant and fair." I don't see anything wrong with saying that. They say, "Just like you're worried, they'll change their group of friends." Now that's a problem. You won't approve of where they go at night. Serious problem. You'll be disgusted when they start learning things online that you kept far from their sight. Now they're talking about grooming your kids. It's one thing to say, we want your kids to be tolerant and fair. To a certain degree, fairness is good. Tolerance is good. Tolerance is tolerable, right? Live and let live. But when you start saying that you will meet their kids at night, they're children. Children does not mean adult. Children does not mean 18 and up. They're literally talking about sending information to minors who are under the protection of a guardian that you will not approve of. They're talking about your children, minors, going out at night when you forbid it and meeting with people and going onto websites you forbid. This is creepy. Very, very creepy. It is literally grooming for them to target your children. Children does not mean 18 up. Now, of course, don't get me wrong. There's some context where children could mean that. If you're talking to an adult couple who's in their 60s and you mention, do you have any children? And they say, "I do. They're 40, 30 and 40 years old now." Okay, in that context. But this is not what they're talking about when they say they're coming for your children. They're talking about grade school kids. Here we go. You want more? Here's what NBC News has to add. They say, but to Brian Griffin from Family Guy. No, I'm kidding. The original organizer of the NYC Drag March, it's that the worst they heard, if that's the worst they heard, it's only because he wasn't there this year. Really? Because apparently, I can't read what he said. Griffin said he chanted obscene things in the past, threatening death, threatening to kill. He has threatened to kill political officials. He has joked about pubic hair and sex toys during marches. People at the drag march regularly sing "God is a lesbian." It's all just words. It's all presented to fulfill their worst stereotypes of us. So you're trying to be the worst possible thing. Okay, yeah, you're grooming kids. You admit it. They admit it. The "Coming for Your Children" chant has been used for years at Pride events, according to longtime march attendees and gay rights activists who said it's one of the many provocative expressions used to regain control of slurs. What? Regain control by admitting you're doing it? That's exactly it. By coming out and proudly announcing they are coming for your kids, it's not a slur anymore. It's the truth. That's what it means to regain control, to assert it. You get it? But I love this. I love how they simultaneously at NBC News argue, no one was saying it. It was just one guy. Who was that guy even? But also, yes, they all admit they are saying it. Conservative politicians and pundits have increasingly referred to advocates for LGBTQ rights as groomers, associating people who oppose laws that restrict drag performances or classroom discussions of gender identity with pedophiles. See, this is this is how they try and lie. If you engage in a sex performance and bring children, you're grooming them. If you present books that show adult activities, sexual activities to children, you are grooming them. Thank you. Have a nice day. NBC News, for some reason, is desperate to try and downplay that they're doing it. And this is the funny thing. They try to hide behind defamation per se. It is true, my friends, that if you come out in the public and accuse someone of having a disease, of being a criminal, or of being a pedophile, it is so egregious, you don't need the actual malice standard. There's defamation and defamation per se. Defamation per se, defamation would work like this. Someone accuses someone of doing bad thing. and it is false. You say person X once kicked a dog. And then you need an actual malice standard to prove that, like, actually saying you kick a dog would probably fall under defamation per se. But if you said like person attended a neo-Nazi rally, that's a statement of fact. You try and sue over that and they'll be like actual malice, anti-slap. It's very hard to sue over these things. Defamation per se is much easier. Accusing someone of being a pedophile, for instance, typically falls under defamation per se. However, it does not when an individual actually engages in said behavior. Then it becomes opinion, which would just be standard defamation. That is to say, if the writer for this NBC News article outright says that it is normal to chant "You're coming for people's children," well, then there are questions about whether or not this person has certain predilections. I wouldn't go so far as to say they're a pedophile, but I will say this. Right now, the left is outraged. They're so angry with me. Because we had an individual on the show last week who defended providing children books which instruct them on meeting with adults to have sex. I said, at the very least, you're a pedophile advocate, but I have to wonder if you have certain predilections if you're trying to teach children how to meet with adults for sex. That is not defamation per se, because you publicly stated you support that thing. Okay, if you say that, my opinion will be that you must have some predilection for this. And so now you've got people saying they should sue Tim Pool for saying this. How could you say this? I would love to see that in court. Well, why did I say it? Because they came on my show and said it was, and they defended providing instruction to children to meet with adults for sex. I said that's wrong. That should not be allowed. And they said they disagreed with me. And I said, I can only assume it's because they prefer the company of children. Trying to be light there, huh? They're child abusers. They got really mad about it. You can't sue over that. Okay. The point of defamation per se is that if someone is in the public and they're like a mayor, and the mayor is saying, we're going to raise taxes, and then someone accuses them of a crime, a disease, or being a pedophile, then they can say that is way over the line. There's no basis for that. Defamation per se. I sue you, sir. But you can't sue someone for defamation per se if you're commenting on things they literally said that could give someone the opinion. Like, I'll put it this way. If someone is coughing and saying they think they may have a sickness, and then you go on your show and be like, I actually think they have this illness. That's not defamation per se. Like Hillary Clinton and all that stuff. They try to play that game. It ain't going to work. The problem for these people is that they're publicly coming out and admitting they're saying they're coming for your kids. You have no defense in court if you say you're coming for people's kids and then someone accuses you of being a groomer. You've confessed to it. And they say, we're joking. Look, you claim it's a joke, but you give these books to kids. Sorry, ain't going to fly. If people don't believe you, that's on you. I often talk about how I'll make a sarcastic post and the media will act like it's a real serious post. They do this because it gets them clicks. Like I was talking about DeSantis and the deepfake, and I tweeted those audio tapes of Trump. And this was like a month or two ago. And I was like, all AI generated. I was literally making the point in the context of if we enter the realm of deepfakes, nothing will be real. It will all just be, no matter whether it's real or not, people will just accuse it of being fake. What happened? Some Democrats ran an article arguing that I was literally saying that Trump's audio tapes were fake. Okay. Well, that's what they'll do. They'll hide. I can argue they're lying. It's a false statement of fact, but they'll argue he literally said it. Well, I literally did say it. They're twisting the context, but this is the public opinion. Anti-slap laws in many states would stop me from being able to sue them because I may have made a joke and they misinterpreted it. Okay. If you leftists are giving children books on instruction for adult activities and then someone calls you a pedophile, you can't sue them because it is reasonable to believe you are. That in that case, I think it's unreasonable to take a tweet from me out of context to smear me. Sure. Here's the difference. I don't use AI to make fake news. I made a sarcastic post to make a point. Leftists do give children books explaining adult activities, then publicly state they're coming for your children, and then desperately try to act like it's not a big deal. You see the difference? Yeah. They're actually coming for your children. It's really scary to us, said Fussy Lo Mein, a drag performer. It doesn't represent everybody. It represents that individual. I thought it was a dumb idea, and I started chanting on top of it with alternate verses. It wasn't one person. You can see the people moving their mouths. Multiple people are chanting it. So what's the argument? That a provocateur chanted it? Or, as you've already published NBC News, you always say these things. Interesting to say the least. They're trying to have it both ways. Well, you can't. Sorry. We won't tolerate harm towards any child and advocate for the protection of and encouragement of every child to be able to live their true, authentic lives, free from fear and persecution, Huckleberry Ken said. I think we need internet restrictions on porn. I think the idea that websites can just publish this stuff and then say, hey, are you of age? Okay, come on in. Here's the example I gave. If you went out into public and held up a big sign with porn on it or something, you would get in trouble, get arrested. If you had an adult bookstore or movie store and a child walked in, you wouldn't just go, hey, wait a minute, are you old enough? And the kid say, yes, man, fine by me. That's what they're doing online. Maybe we need to consider that if you're operating certain businesses in the public space, internet or otherwise, you need to have an ID check. Imagine a kid walked into a bar and the bartender was like, hey, wait a minute, you look a little young. Are you old enough? The kid goes, yep. He goes, all right, come on in, have a drink. We don't do that. Why online? So yeah, I think we got to have some restrictions on that. Now, as for free speech, we have the worst of both worlds right now. Online, they'll censor your political opinions and allow porn. In public, you're allowed to have political opinions and not show porn. Maybe we've got to fix this. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.